welcome back to another episode of CRIMEWATCH UK. This is where we have a laugh to see which bellends have been on the board this month for the crimes committed in boxing. Oh, and we've got some crackers on the board today, some right bellends, some who can't get off the board, some who it's the first time on the board. So late, no, it's not actually late but great. It's the end of the month. We're on time for once. So welcome back to another episode of CRIMEWATCH UK. Oh yes, and we're going in today. Like Churchill's dog says, oh yes, we're going in. In at number 4, the one and only, what can we call this guy? Farce, fraud, Christopher Fraud Eubanks. Now, I'm not one for this guy. He's an absolute clown. Always stating on TV that he's for legacy, he's fighting them, naming it lists. He wants Canelo, he wants Charlo, he wants Triple G, he wants blah blah blah, but his best win to date is a washed up faded Arthur Abraham or a washed up faded James DeGale. It's none other than Chris the Money Eubanks. Now, I put him on the board because he had me in stitches this week for what he did. He turned that press conference, what was about Better Be Evan Bivol, into him. Put Bricktop on his arse, put Eddie Hearn on his arse, had them all screaming Cower Sutherland. But then when he realises that he won't be getting any more fights for what he said, for calling Bricktop, Cower Sutherland, the crackhead, and Eddie Hearn, aka Eddie Potter, he changed his mind because he knew that he wouldn't be getting any more fights. So he retracted what he said and came out with a statement apologising. So for that reason, for Chris the Money Eubanks retracting his statement and coming out with a new one, I've got to put this bell end up on the board. So Chris Eubanks, you're in at number 4. In at number 3, well, what can we say? It's none other than Michael Simon Jordan, the man who likes to dunk his ball through rings, and I ain't talking about the basketball ring. This guy's up everybody's ring. 1 minute he's a Tyson Fury ball hugger, ball player. He's up Fury's ring that far. He can see what he's eating for his dinner. Then all of a sudden, he switches from Tyson Fraudley to Anthony Joshua. He's an Anthony Joshua fan, saying that AJ will beat Dubois with ease and all stuff like this. It's an easy night's work for him. Bigging up AJ after years and years of slagging AJ off and saying his career's going nowhere and he hasn't done anything, and Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight of our generation. Then he starts swinging on AJ's nuts like Tarzan. And then when AJ gets beat off Dubois, he starts saying that AJ's performance was awful and starts having a bit of a dig at AJ, but also at the same time making excuses for him, saying he looked like a man being led to the gallows when he was walking into the ring and stuff like that. So for me, this ball sniffer, this basketball dunking mofo, I don't know where this guy gets off. What's it all for? For the money? Who's flavour of the month? Because that's what it seems to be with this guy. He's swinging from balls to balls, dunking them through rings. So, a.k.a. Michael Simon Jordan, I've got to put this bell end in. I've got to put this bell end in at number 3, because really, this guy can't make up his mind who he likes most, Tyson Fraudley or Anthony Joshua. So Simon Jordan, go and sit your arse down somewhere, mate. You're in at number 3. Oh, Oh God, here we go again. Now this is the man who just cannot get off the board. It's none other than Bricktop, aka Fish Eyes. Bricktop, Frank Warren. Well, this guy will do absolutely anything for money. But it's not, I haven't put him up on the board for money. I've put him up on the board this week because this clown has been frothing at the mouth. He's been frothing like a man possessed, like he's got rabies. He's like something off Shaun of the Dead, like one of them zombies. This guy had an absolute meltdown after Chris Eubanks Jr. toasted his arse. He had an absolute meltdown, threatening to sue him. When Chris Eubanks was ripping the arse end out of him, he was trying butt in, overpower Eubanks. But what made me laugh was Eubanks was overpowering him with the mic. You could just hear Bricktop in the background having a spaz. And then he goes on TalkSports. Well, first, before he goes on TalkSports, he's on Box Nation threatening to sue Chris Eubanks again for slander and blah, 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 blah. Then he goes on TalkSports. Darren Bent, and I can't remember the other guy, I think he's called Andy someone. They asked him, they read out what Chris Eubanks said to him, and he had an absolute spaz again on live on TalkSports, threatening to sue Darren Bent, and the other guy, Andy someone, threatening to sue him, and he was saying, no, I'm just reading out what he said. And he started saying, you'll get sued, you'll get sued. Bricktop was running round, all round social media, threatening to sue everybody, anyone who mentioned it. He was going to sue him. He was frothing at the mouth, absolutely frothing at the mouth. His eyes were popping out even more. He really did have the fish eyes when Chris Eubanks was drilling him on stage. And then he comes out with a statement, because Turkey's obviously gave him a bit of a clip round the ear hole and said, pack your shit in. Same with Eubanks, because you're fucking up the programme. I want to make big fights for the fans and I don't want to see this shit. So all of a sudden, Bricktop retracts his statement that he's going to sue him and puts out a nice, lovely statement and has a photograph taken with Chris Eubanks Jr. and it's all put to bed. But Bricktop is the type of guy, you can't say anything against him, because if you do, he just has an absolute meltdown. He's the biggest crybaby out there. We haven't all forgotten about the Adam Cattrall business, Bricktop. How you was on about you were going to sue him and you were calling up TalkSports, crying and bitching and banning TalkSports from the fights and all this malarkey, the arguments and the crybaby shit with Simon Jordan. So Bricktop, you're in at number 2 for being an absolute bellend, a big crybaby, and you're a scam artist. You've scammed loads of boxers out of money. So Bricktop, you're in at number 2. Right, last but not least, who have we got? First time on the board. This guy should have been on the board many, many times. Don't like the guy. The biggest shit stirrer in boxing. I try to stay clear of this guy because he's an absolute weapon. But it's none other than Deirdre Barlow, a.k.a. Spencer Fearon. Now, this fucking clown come out last week slagging off Daniel Dubois' dad, saying that he was using voodoo to over Anthony Joshua to make sure that Anthony Joshua couldn't win the fight. Not Anthony, sorry, I'll rephrase that. He was making voodoo, saying that Daniel Dubois' dad was doing voodoo against Anthony Joshua, so Joshua couldn't win this fight. He's the biggest AJ Rimmer out there. Them fucking stupid Newcastle Brown bottle ale glasses what he wears. Them Deirdre Barlow bins. This guy's a fucking clown. He was adamant that try and get a foot through the door, saying that he brought Don Charles to the Dubois camp. Probably try and get money off it. He's a hungry, thirsty camera whore. He calls himself the knowledge. The only knowledge this guy knows is how to make himself look a prick in front of everyone by saying that he knows Daniel Dubois' dad is using voodoo against Anthony Joshua so that Anthony Joshua can't win this fight, and saying that Daniel Dubois had no chance and all this stuff. Said a few things about Don Charles as well. Don Charles ripped the arse end out of him on Box Nation. Anyway, when asked how does he know that Daniel Dubois' dad is using voodoo, he said, I just know. Hasn't got any statements to back it up. Then when Daniel Dubois annihilates Anthony Joshua, the man goes missing. He's gone missing all week. Hasn't come out to face the media. A lot of people want to hear what he's got to say. He's like Big John Fury, gone missing in action. So, Spencer Fearon, a.k.a. Deirdre Barlow, because he wags like a woman as well. Chats shit like a fucking woman. Don't mean like women chat shit, but you know, he's always a shit stirrer. He can't keep his mouth shut. Always try and be in the limelight. You bring nothing to boxing, mate. You're just a fucking penis. That's what you are. So, Spencer Fearon, a.k.a. Deirdre Barlow, you're in at number 1 for being the biggest bell end in boxing of September. And let's see what you got to say, Spence, but you won't. You'll leave it a few months and then you'll turn up. So, I hope you enjoyed that video. So, we got the 4 bell ends on the board this week, but the number 1 prize goes to Spencer Fearon. Peace out. And as my brother always said from another mother, tell him, Nick, tell him.
In the meantime, don't have nightmares. Do please sleep well. Good night.
Good night.